following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
We're back at you with Gloves Off, and I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm sitting here with attorney Maria Elena Morales, who's a candidate for Justice of the Peace in Webb County. Precinct 1, Place 1. How are we doing today?
We're doing good.
How's
Good.
How's everything? How's the campaign coming along?
Going very well. Very enthused, energized by the response my campaign has gotten, the response of the voters to my proposal, to my candidacy. And so I'm energized by the energy that the voters have transmitted to me throughout this campaign.
What are they saying? What do they tell you when you go approach them?
They're saying that they're glad that someone like me is running, that they want someone who knows the law, who is going to listen to them, and who is very familiar with the issues facing the community and the cases that are being heard in that court, and that they're glad that they'll have someone who's going to listen to them, is going to be fair, and is going to do all that she can do to make sure that they get justice.
And that's very important because things have changed with the JP, especially in September. Right now it's only 10,000, but it's going to go up to 20,000, right? So.
And it's not only the amount, Paul. I think one of the most important things is the fact that there's going to be, this court is going to have the ability to, for example, appoint a receiver.
Okay.
And that is a person that is appointed by the court, and that person is going to say, that person's going to go and they're going to go look for assets so that that the creditors can get to your assets.
Correct.
And I think that's very important. The ability to know when you should appoint a receiver, and not just because somebody says they owe you money, but that they have proven their case in court and that you're going to be able to do that. And it's important for that receiver to know what they can and they cannot take from you. And it takes someone who knows the law to know what your constitutional rights are, what property is exempt from execution. And so that is a very powerful tool that the JP will now have to be able to appoint a receiver. And it has to be someone that you know is going to know what they can go after in terms of collecting the judgments. Another very important thing is that now we can do mediations, and that is a less expensive alternative. And again, appoint a mediator. There's mediators, for example, at the college that will do it for free. And so that if you have a big company and you have a lawyer and then you have a person that's not represented by an attorney, you as the judge can say, I'm sending you to mediation and I'm going to appoint a person that's going to be fair. And sometimes the judges are also able to mediate, and that's important.
Sure, but for that you need somebody that not only fair and is just, but somebody that understands the law.
Exactly.
And there's a difference between learning the law through experience, and there's a difference because you come in and you study the law.
Exactly.
You know, so
I'm a
it's-
practicing attorney. That means that for 40 plus years, I've actually been in the courtroom. I think that out of the 5 days in a work week, I might not be there one day, maybe. But most of the time, I'm there 5 days a week, you know, fighting the fight, going in there, representing my clients, making the best that I can, doing the best that I can for them. And I will be the same as a judge. And you have that as a judge, it's even, you know, you have that ability to not only recognize the issues, but be able to give a person a fair hearing and not be wondering whether you're doing it right or not doing it right.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand that people who go there, they have already spent a considerable amount of money in suing someone, or now they're being sued. Then they have to make that decision. Do I go ahead and you know, what do I do? Do I hire an attorney because the other side has an attorney and then the judge might not know what the law is? So to me, it's very important. You don't want to go to a place and wonder if the person that's listening and hearing your case knows what they're doing. And I will know what I'm doing.
Absolutely, and that should be a decisive factor, especially for individuals out there that want to look and see other candidates and research the candidates.
And the other thing that's I think is very important, Paul, is the fact that I've been involved in the community. I've been involved in United Way. For example, the other day, I saw the director of United Way, and she says, you know, Maria Elena, the legal division has never collected money from the attorneys as you did when you were the president of the bar. You had the best year for us from the legal division, where you were able to get them enthused and say, I want to contribute to United Way. I want the legal division to be good. And that's giving back to your community. You do that on your own time. It's not something that you get paid for. Nobody assigns you to it. I got elected by the Bar Association to be the president, and I headed the legal division of the United Way. And I was so happy to hear that from her, that she still remembers that was the best year for the legal division as far as United Way. Another thing that I've been doing is I do a lot of I would say like classes, go to different churches that invite me, go to different organizations and give presentations on different issues. You know, immigration issues, for example, family law. I'm even called upon by the priest on pre-cana classes to go do the legal part of marriage. You know, not one that you would want to be in, which is the divorce part, but basically have some of those issues be addressed at the pre-cana classes. Those I do on my own. I'm not paid for that. And I think it's important when you vote for a judge or you elect a judge and that person has had community involvement, that has been free, that hasn't been part of your job. You know, if you hire me as your lawyer, that's my job. But if I go on a Sunday, if I go at night to give classes or to explain issues to them, for example, the SB4, I was called upon by the Mexican consulate to go to different organizations and explain to them what is the impact of the SB4 on you? What does it really mean? And what are your rights, you know, when you get stopped by a police officer?
Absolutely.
And so that is free. That's not something that I did because I got paid. And I'm still on the board of the Mexican consulate as an abogado consultor, which means that they call upon me when they have any issues or they have a person with problems. And not only issues of immigration, but issues of family law, issues of inheritances. You know, we're right on the border. A lot of these are transnational issues. They cross the border. You know, you have to kind of know what you're doing so that you know what you need to do If, for example, someone dies in Mexico but they're a U.S. citizen, if they die in the U.S. but they're Mexican citizens but they own property, what is it that you have to do for them? And those are things that the Mexican consulate will call upon me to do, and in the own cases that I've done. And I've done a lot of pro bono cases through legal services, through legal aid, and I was a member of the board for the Equal Access to Justice Foundation at a state level, and I was appointed by the Supreme Court. And so, that to me is something that I'm very proud of, because it's something that you do statewide for less fortunate people in our community.
And you should be, those are positions that somebody's gonna put you into that position because you need, how can I say, they need help, and they can understand that person's going to be working for it.
Exactly.
You're not put there just for you to have another pin on your lapel. You're put in there because they know that they're gonna put people in those committees that know what they're doing.
And of course, my experience as a mother, as we all know, you're not born with instructions. So you learn, as you go along, and you raise your children the best that you can, and you want to be there for them, and you want to help them. And that goes to the issue of the truancy programs, where you have, the school district that is there to educate your children, and then the parents, if they have problems of child support, for example, my plan is, if a child is absent from school because they have to support their children, of course that is a defense to the truancy allegations.
Sure.
However, I think I want to go a little step further and say, wait a minute, it's not enough for you to tell me that you're being absent because you are the primary support of your family, but let's look for the absent parent. Let's look for the parent that's supposed to be paying child support, so your child doesn't have to be absent from school. And let's use all the resources available, because of my experience in family law, in child support cases. I know where I need to go and who I need to ask for help to be able to get that child support to that child, so that child can dedicate themselves to going to school, to doing what they should be doing at that age.
That brings out there's other questions, especially with the truancy, because I spoke with 3 other judges here, both Brother Liendos, that one is retiring from the open court that you're in, also his brother, Judge Oscar Liendo, and also with Judge Pepe Salinas. And the truancy is something that they're very, very after. Because I think it is a problem here in Laredo that it's up in our face, and I think we need to attack that.
I think that when the legislature changed the law, they want everybody to be proactive. They want someone to say, to go a little bit further than just saying, well, bring me the case, I'll listen to it, and I'll make a decision, and I'll impose whatever sanctions I need to impose. It's not a criminal case, but you are able to impose certain requirements.
Sure.
But they want the legislature and the school districts, and everyone wants you to be proactive. In other words, what is the root of the problem? The root of the problem is not that kids don't want to go to school. The root of the problem is that they have poverty issues, they might have mental issues, they might have substance abuse issues. So everyone, the school district itself has a plan, and by the time it gets to the judge, it's kind of like they did everything they could and they couldn't work it out. So before it gets to your court, that's where I bring in my experience and say, wait, what can we do for this child that is already absent 3 times, absent 4 times? Before it gets to the 10th time, what can we do? Well, you can send them to counseling, you can do after-school tutoring,
Sure.
But find resources aside from the resources that the school district has, and that's my plan.
And it's excellent what you're thinking that way, but you also need somebody that's amicable enough and understands negotiating with the other with the other school district, with the school district LISD. Because as a judge, I think you all have to be able to negotiate with them. Hey, what are we going to do here?
I see myself, the role is more, instead of negotiation, is being there to assist the school district. To be able to say, I'm here, what do you need? So that that child doesn't get to the court. But once the child gets to the court, a judge has to be very, very conscious of the fact that there are deadlines, that you just can't sit in the case, you can't sit on this case, that you've got to move it along, that you've got to do what you have to do to get that child back into the school, back to the classroom. And there's alternatives. Maybe you find that that child would be better served if they take a GED and take their GED test. That maybe that's not going to work. Sending them back. Maybe you'll find that tutoring is the best way to go. And there's outside money. There's resources in the state to have programs that will benefit that child.
Absolutely. And what I've never understood here is we have a lot of kids that can't go in the morning and they miss. There's a lot. I've never seen how come we can't have special classes with all the schools after, like GEDs, in the high schools where they're at. In other words, like 5 to 7 or 5 to 9. Guess what? These are the programs. And it's never been done. I know Dallas used to do stuff like that.
I know that the school districts are constantly looking for alternative ways to make sure that the child graduates, and I certainly would be open to any suggestion or making suggestions to that effect, and looking for funds, because I think one of the primary problems in some of those after-school programs is the funding. Where are you going to get the money? But there are programs. And everybody's competing throughout the state for the money, for the state money. But if we put a good proposal in, I know how to write proposals, get it in there, get the money, have staff dedicated to that particular truancy project.
Sure.
And so that's one of my plans. The other plan is to innovate the court. I mean, there is no website. There is a website, but it doesn't have anything. In other words, it doesn't have any forms. My plan is to innovate it with the technology available. The county has great technology available, so you can set up a fantastic website, set up all the forms that you need, and have them both in English and in Spanish. As I said, the universities are here, they're willing to assist with translations, and have them there for people to say, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to, for example, if I'm renting my house, and I need to file an eviction, here's a form in English and in Spanish, I can do it in the privacy of my home, and I can file it. E-filing is something that all courts are doing it. Now you don't have to go to the courthouse to file your petitions. It's done through e-file. I plan to make that available, because we're right now in 2020, and technology came a long time ago, and it hasn't come to this court, and we need to have it.
And look at what happened with our phones. Our phones are smarter than the old computers that we used to have,
Yes.
and that's the main difference. A lot of people do not understand that now people are using the phones for business, to communicate all over the world, and it needs to be done now. Some things have to be done now. And everything's always evolving. And if you can't evolve, then there's something wrong. You have to keep on moving forward.
E-filing has been going on in the federal system for 20 years.
Sure.
Now we're like on our 5th year in the state courts. There's no reason why we can't have it in JP court. And there's no reason why we have a backlog. I think that needs dismissal dockets. That's what they're for. Basically, the judge says, on this day, I'm going to call all these cases that are pending, and I'm going to put everybody's feet to the fire. You come in here and you tell me why I shouldn't dismiss your case. And probably we'll find out that a lot of them had either people have lost interest, they've moved on, something has happened, but there's no need to have them on the docket.
And that needs, like I said, you need somebody in there that can see that vision and understands what's going on.
And you need a person like me that has done it. That we know when you say, let's have a docket dismissal day, let's have e-filing, let's have the forms on the website. Most of our judges have forms in their websites. And so that for example, in probate matters, you're able to go in there, and if you're an administrator of a probate matter, if you're a guardian, the forms will be there, the things you need to do on a yearly basis. They're gonna be there for you to look at them, for you to fill them out and file them in court.
Absolutely.
And that's non-lawyers, not necessarily lawyers, but non-lawyers.
Sure.
And so that's what I'm talking about in this Justice of the Peace Court.
I think that the JP's courts have to evolve towards that, and I think you'll see that. I think you're going to start seeing it.
People want to be heard.
Of course.
They want, if they get sued, they want the judge to understand their plight. They want you to understand as a judge, I got sued, but this is what's going on in my life.
Sure.
And if you want to sue someone, you want to be able to, for example, in a landlord-tenant case, if you own the property, and we're not talking here about people that own hundreds and hundreds of properties. Sometimes they own a little house and they rent it out, and tenants don't want to pay. Well, they don't want to be waiting for a hearing for months and months.
Absolutely.
Because that might be like a little subsidy on the side for them. That's where they get a little bit extra money, and then if they don't get paid and you don't give them a hearing, well then, what are they supposed to do? How do you speed it up? And forcible evictions are only the JP courts have jurisdiction, so you have no alternative. You can't go to another court, you've got to go there. You've got a small claim, but now they're going to be not so small. 20,000 is a lot of money. And another thing that's changed in the JP court, if you, for example, owe a mortgage company and you owe them less than 20,000, they can literally foreclose on your property in the JP court. And so a lot of people don't realize that. Like, I thought that we were supposed to go to No, now the JP courts will have jurisdiction because it's under 20,000.
You're going to see that with a lot of banks are going to attack that way.
Exactly.
They're going to go straight forward, and you're going to see a lot of people raise Cain about it.
Credit companies file hundreds and hundreds of cases
all the
in
time.
JP court under 10,000. Now it's under 20,000, and they do have lawyers.
Sure.
And then what are you going to do if the judge doesn't understand the
law,
technical requirements of you to collect on a credit card debt are there. The rules are there. So you need a judge that understands those, because otherwise those credit company lawyers are going to say, oh, you owe me, and the judge is going to say, oh, well, okay, fine, you have to pay him. Judgment, wait a minute, there's rules. They just can't come in and say that you own. You've got to prove your claim.
Absolutely.
And you will find that those credit companies have sold their notes over, like sold them a few times. You're going to find that some of those companies don't have records to prove their case. And that's where the knowledge of the lawyer, the legal knowledge comes in.
And it's going to be that. It's going to be a tricky part from come September. Watch what's going to end up happening.
We will have a lot more cases. And in this particular court, we need to get rid of the backlog, and we need to really, in collection cases, and we need to give priority to the truancy cases, make sure that we're doing everything that we can to assist the school district and to make sure that we're not missing and we're not leaving any child behind because that person needs child support, for example.
Absolutely. You got one more week for early vote.
One more week for early vote.
And then we go 1 week off and then come back on March 3rd.
It's actually a little bit less than a week because we're already on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then
That's it.
we take a little rest, but we will continue. We have knocked, my campaign and we have personally knocked on 2,500 doors. And the response has been great, has been very positive, has been, very enthused. We're glad you're running. We're glad that you're a lawyer. We're glad that you know what you're going to do, and we know that you know what you have to do.
Absolutely. And I've been seeing all the races, and it's been a very amicable race, I think. And I think I'm proud of all you all, because usually, yes, they're already fighting like cats and dogs by this time around in some other races.
I think that for me, this is me. This is my experience. This is what I bring to you,
Sure.
the voter.
Sure.
And it's up to the voter to say, yes, this is the type of judge that we want.
Absolutely. Wish you the best of luck as well
Thank
as
you.
all others. And let's move forward. Folks, remember, early vote until Friday. They're there until 7 p.m. Exercise your right to vote. Okay? Till next time. Peace.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.